Good afternoon, good evening, or even good morning, wherever you are, whatever time you're listening to this. This is Jock. This is the Pillars of Grief, and today I'm going to jump into something hard, something that I thought that I would never really have to do. But I've had so many, I've had so many questions, and so many times people have asked me this, and so I've had a lot of people that have also asked me and have been given conflicting information. So when we come right back, we're going to dive into a really hard subject regarding suicide and taking your own life. God bless. Welcome back, everybody. So, what is it I'm going to talk about? Now, I'm not going to talk about do you go to hell and if you take your own life, or what about your loved ones who have taken their own life, and what happens to them. Well, if you want to know kind of about that and for me to bust those myths, then go to my other. I'll put a link up here. I'm going to put a link up here to another video that I did where I busted the myths about suicide and hell and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully it'll give you a lot of comfort. It's given many people a lot of comfort, but this one is particularly hard because I recently had someone come to me and they've lost their loved one, and they're really suffering from grief, and I would say prolonged grief, but and that can possibly, and as I can say, it can last for many years. There's a lot of misunderstanding about prolonged grief disorder. In fact, if you go onto my website and you go to jockbrocas.com and you go into the articles there, I've written kind of extensively about that, and where you can understand it. So I don't want to jump into PGD and all about it, because this is kind of raw. This episode is kind of raw because I understand how hard grief can be. I mean, like I've said, I've lost so many people in my life, right? And I've explained this many other times, so there's no need for me to go through it again. And even recently, my wife and I lost someone really special to us that really turned my world upside down dramatically. So I know how it feels. From real experience, not from theory, as I've mentioned many times as well, even in all the academic research that I do. Experience trumps theory every time. It does. It really does. And so I understand that when one is grieving, they can feel so lost. Doesn't matter who you are, right? Grief, and I'm talking about not grief in normal type of living where we might grieve a divorce, or we might grieve losing a job or something. I'm talking about the grief that really incapacitates you, of losing someone so close to you, really close to you, that you find your whole world is kind of upside down and you can't go on. That is kind of the catalyst to this whole idea of PGD, okay? Prolonged grief disorder, okay? There's so many people have come to me and they've said they want to die. They want to cross over. And some people have really considered it. And luckily I've managed to work with them and kind of, because I do a lot of grief coaching as well. Not just giving readings and sittings to people, but I work with people for 6 months to a year, even longer. And there's times where it's been so bad that if they hadn't have reached out for the need to reach out, then drastic things can happen. But all the time I get asked this, what happens if I take my own life and I cross over? Now, the thing is, someone who maybe comes and says that, they're reaching out for help, and I really understand that. And I recently had that where someone's suffering grief so much from losing a loved one that they really are considering going down that route, whether they go through with it or not. I pray almightily that doesn't happen. But the problem is that people get so much conflicting information out there on the internet, and even with the research, and it's quite dangerous, and it's quite dangerous to people's health, not from mental health point of view, but even just physically. It could cause someone to take that decision and maybe take it over. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what happens if you do that, and maybe after I've actually explained this, you'll realize that it's not the answer and it's not the way, because no matter what someone has told you and given you a false sense of security to say that you're going to be with your loved one if you cross over, I'm sorry to say that's just not true, right? So if any of you are out there that are suffering so badly that you think that I'm just going to take my own life because I want to be with my loved one, I'm sorry, but that's not gonna work, and you won't be. And it's hard for me to say that because I know that's not what you want to hear, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to hold nothing back. I don't believe in flowering things up just to pander to what you want to hear. I believe in being honest. I believe in being upfront, and if it's hard to hear, then it's a reason it's hard to hear, because it's not something that you should be considering. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of an understanding of maybe how the afterlife works and why, yes, why it's not the right thing for you to do. Now, maybe eventually, as time goes, there's no time on the other side, but eventually, as we move on, and if you did do something like that, you're eventually going to be your loved one at some point, but it's not going to be the way that you think about it. Because here's the thing: your loved one who's passed over, they've passed over. They've gone through the life review. They've gone through the process of the crossing over. They've met loved ones. They've met teachers, guides. They're integrating into spirit life. They're integrating themselves into heavenly life, whatever you believe in. This what I'm talking about today is not just about. It's not religious in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing religious about that, because everybody has to make this journey at some point. And that means that no matter what religion you come from, we're still going to cross over to heaven, to the other side, to the spirit life. And so that's got nothing to do with it. But those you've loved ones who have crossed over, they're going to vibrate at a particular rate. They're going to integrate themselves into the afterlife. They're going to integrate themselves into the spirit world, and they're going to be continually developing spiritually. Like, we don't just stop developing the minute we cross over to the other side. We're always going to be developing, even on the other side. Even spirit guides that work with, my own spirit guides that work with other people and mediums and people on this side that they're helping guide, and people that help them guide on the other side. There's still a process of development on the other side. So there's that, that vibration. If you can imagine, that vibration is going to be a lot higher, right, than it is in this earthly life here, right? So your loved one who crosses over is going to be, developing, moving on, has left the shackles of the earthly life behind, the materialist life behind, and they're lighter and more vibrationally attuned to that other side. Should you want to go and meet them, and which I would say meet them in your meditation, in your dreams, and I've got meditations that will help you do that. I've got different things that will help you connect the other side. But should you be an individual who's really suffering from grief at this particular moment, and you're considering doing something drastic because you want to be with your loved one, let me actually categorically tell you, you will not be with your loved one. And it is a vibrational thing, because it is not for you to take your own life to cross over. When you to do that, you're making a decision, you're making a choice to end your life to cross over. There is going to be a vibrational imbalance, right? You're not going to immediately be at a higher vibration. You're not immediately going to meet your loved ones and then everything in the garden is going to be rosy. because of your choice that you make, there is a karmic tie to this. There's a checks and balances, if you like. I'm not going to go into the whole laws of karma and everything else, but what I want to say to you is that if you make the choice to do something, you're making a choice that's impacting you negatively in this material life. You're taking something that is divine in nature, and you're trying to cross over to be your loved one with a false sense of security. If someone has told you that you will be with your loved one, if you take if you make that decision, that's the way that you can go and meet your loved one. It is not, and that's the wrong information. And they are going to have to answer for giving that wrong information. Because you've done that, because you have made that choice, as I said, that is a vibrational mismatch. The vibrations are completely different. Therefore, you're not going to be you're not going to vibrate at the right level. There's not going to be that attraction, that vibrational attraction, that vibrational harmony. You're not going to match it there. So the chances of you actually doing that and crossing over and immediately meeting your loved one on the other side and everything being great is very small. Because why? Well, again, let's take away just the idea of this whole imbalance from the vibration. You've just made a choice that kind of has a negative energy to it, right? Even though through it maybe through your pain and your suffering and everything else. You're not going to immediately be at that vibration, that higher level vibration, because of the choice that you've made. So you're going to have to get over to the other side, and you're going to have to go through the same kind of idea. Like, if I had to liken it to this earthly life, right? If I had to liken it to this earthly life, and not from a spirit type of point of view, just from here, imagine that you do that, and then you have to immediately go into counselling. Or let's say you hurt yourself, you hurt yourself deliberately, and you end up in the hospital, and you're in the hospital for a period of time, and you have to relearn to integrate into normal life again. Many people who have been in car accidents, many people who have even hurt themselves deliberately and maybe damaged the physical aspect of themselves, and also taking the consequences of the trauma that they've inflicted upon themselves, have a period of time where they have to go through learning how to integrate again, getting better, becoming well. They have to go through the counselling. They basically have to build from scratch again to get to that. So you imagine then, for every small step that you have in this life, where you're maybe coming out of hospital, learning to walk again, learning to build your muscle again to be able to move, or learning to speak, or slowly learning to integrate these aspects of you. It takes time, it takes dedication, it takes patience. And every time that you do something, you're raising that vibration a little bit more. It's like ladders, or like a steps that you're going up. You're going one little step, and then you might fall down a little step, but then you come up again. And so you're slowly getting there. So you would have to do the same thing. Your loved one could be way up at the top of the mountain, and you still have to get there, right? So you're not immediately going to make that decision without having the consequences spiritually of your decision and your actions. This is the law of responsibility. I don't want to get into spiritual law so much, because maybe that's another episode that we dive into. But just imagine that. Just let's take that analogy, that they're way up in this mountain, and they're loving it, and they're up there, and they've already done all the work to be up there. You're not going to be able to make that decision and not have any consequences and not have to work your way up, right? That's the easiest way that I can explain it, because you're not going to be with your loved one straight away, right? What will happen if you go through your life and you make the right choices, and You allow life to unfold the way it's meant to be with your destiny, and learning from your experiences here in life. And then it comes to your natural exit point. You know, everybody has a natural exit point. Sometimes, and again, this is going into a whole different subject matter, but sometimes, you know, people will leave earlier than they're meant to for other reasons, and, you know, other choices and things that have been made. So if you're naturally going through and you come to your natural exit point, your natural progression of your earthly existence that crosses over, that's going to cross over to the other side of life, then yes, more than likely, the person who's going to come through for you to help you cross over is going to be your loved ones, right? And here's something that I talk about in my group a lot, and a lot of the women in there, and I've got a few men in there as well, but they love the fact that I talk about that there's no time. And so if you can imagine this, while you're missing them here, well, the time just seems crazy, inexorably. It's so long. It seems like a millennium, if you like. You know, you're just waiting, right? They're not. We don't really have space and time on the other side, right? There's no the experience here is two-dimensional. It's linear, you know, or three-dimensional in this life as well. At some parts of it, it's linear. Okay, there's nothing over there. So whilst we are considering that there is so much time to wait, there is so much time here, and we have a measurement of that seems so long, and that even can cause anxiety. When you eventually cross over to the other side, naturally the way that you should have, there is no space and time. So it's like I've always said, it's like they're in the next room. They don't need to miss you because they're connected to you. They're connected to you in this life, which means that, you know, you still have that love connection. It doesn't die. The cords of love are never broken. The bonds of love are never broken. It doesn't die. And whilst you may be missing them now, whilst it may seem like an eternity that they're gone, when you cross, it's just like they're in the next room. It's just like you've never been apart. It's just like you've connected again. Like it's not even like you've connected again. It's just like a moment. It's just a moment has passed, and you're there and with them, and you're celebrating, and you're all together, and you have this instant vibrational attraction, this vibrational match, this vibrational recognition of your soul connection. That's what it's like when you just allow it to naturally take its course the way it should under divine law. Should you make the decision to force your crossing earlier than what it should be at your own hand, you are not going to experience that. You are not going to immediately meet your loved one on the other side just like that, because there will be, as I said right at the beginning, there is going to be a completely vibrational mismatch. You're going to have to go through the process of learning, integrating into the spirit world and the spirit way of life. You're going to have to go through a healing phase, a phase where you learn of your actions. Again, I'm trying not to go into karma and divine law and all this kind of stuff. I'm trying to make it as easily to understand for you as possible. So you're going to have to go through, what's the word I'm looking for? Rehabilitation, okay? Right? That's it, rehab. Imagine you're an alcoholic on this life, or a drug addict on this life, and you decide, you know, you try to take or maybe your choices have nearly caused you to cross over, and then you make the decision of, right, I've got to sort my life out. I know so many people that have done that. My friend who passed recently, Sheila, she was, I want to say, she didn't want to recover an alcoholic. She was a recovering alcoholic. She did it. She made the decision to get help for her alcoholism, and dealt with that. And so she had to go through a long process of rehabilitation. I know a friend of mine, Cliff, who, you know, doesn't live too far from here, does some audio stuff for me as well. And he's a great musician, and he fell into that side of things because of choices he made. He took drugs. He nearly passed over. He nearly crossed over, but he had to go through rehabilitation. Music kind of helped him, and now he's doing great. He does a lot of music, around about this area. He helps a lot of other bands and things like that. But he had to go through a long process of rehabilitation to get himself to the point where he is now. Sheila had to go through the whole process of rehabilitation. So don't think that you're going to make the decision and not have to go through a rehabilitation process in the spirit world. You're still going to have to go through a healing journey. You still have to go through an integration and learning and taking responsibility for your actions. So why would you want to make the decision now to do something drastic, thinking from ignorant information that you've received that you're going to be with your loved ones immediately, then you cross over if you take that wrong choice? That's wrong. That in itself, it has got karma that has to be paid, and I would never ever want to lull anyone into a false sense of security. And I would urge you, anybody out there, is have in your mind, when you do cross over, they're just in the next room, and it'll be like you've never gone and you've never had the time apart, right? So don't worry about it. Don't make the drastic choice. Live your life for now. Live your life for the moment. Live your life for the gift that God has given you to experience life. Experiencing grief is also a gift, because it can be as I've said many times, it can be your greatest teacher or your greatest nemesis. Choice is yours. Choice is yours to make. Make the right choice. Live, love, experience. When you cross over, it'll be just like they're in the next room and you've never gone. Don't make the decision based on ignorant information that makes you think that you can make the wrong choice and not have to take responsibility for that choice and pay back the karmic choices that you've made. You will still be at the bottom of the mountain, and you will still have to climb it, and you will still have to get to the top in order to see your loved ones on the top of that peak. Why do it? Why? When you can just live, cross over, and be with your loved ones in a natural, divine way that's meant to happen. That is life. I mean, how would I explain it? It's like a domino effect. You hit the domino and it all it goes naturally, and it's the river, the waterfall flows naturally. You can't stop. It's natural. It's a natural flow. Allow your life to be a natural flow, and you'll meet your loved one on the other side. Don't cause yourself the pain and the suffering that you'll still have to experience when you cross over because you've made the wrong choice, when it could have been a lot easier for you. There's many loved ones come through from the other side, and they say, it's like putting off a jacket and still, wearing your clothes and being able to see and realizing that you still have a body, and that your mind is still intact, and you still experience, and you can still connect and see your loved ones. And you can still be part of their life. So realize that life is a precious gift that the divine has given you. Don't spoil it, and don't make the wrong choices that are going to make you suffer even more than you are now, because you'll have to. Imagine how you would feel if you crossed over the other side and you realize you can't meet your loved one on the other side the way that you thought you could. And you have to go through the rehabilitation, and you have to go through the journey, and you have to bring harmony and balance back to that which is out of balance, and you have to climb that mountain. How is that going to make you feel? Wow. That's a hell of a journey to think about. I know that the way I feel is that no matter all the loved ones that I've missed and I've lost in my life, I know that when I see them again, it'll be like I've never missed them and be like they've never gone. But I will experience and live my life the best I possibly can, and I will serve Spirit and serve the divine the best way that I possibly can, and serve people the best way that I possibly can, so that when I go over, I know that I'm just in the next room, and I'll cross over and I will meet them on the other side. And I won't have to climb that mountain because I'll be with them. And then we can spiritually keep developing together. And we can spiritually keep learning from each other. I don't want to disrupt the vibrational harmony that I'm building or that I'm moving toward and putting me back. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I didn't want to do this. I've never really wanted to come on and talk about this, but I've had so many questions, so many people, and people that I've worked with over the years and people that I'm working with now that have gone to that point of thinking that it might be easier for them because they're in so much pain. It's not. And I hope you'll take that on board. It's not. Just realize that, like, enjoy life, experience life. And the best gift that you can give your loved ones on the other side is to experience life and live life now. That's what they want for you. Because also, you thinking of doing something drastic is going to affect them negatively. Right? They don't want you to do that. Right? That you can imagine that might kind of affect them on the other side as well. Why would you want to do that? Because they'll be excited when you cross over and you're there and you've never gone and they're attached to you now. So live your life, love your life. It's a gift that you've been given by the divine. Experience it. Because we all have to make the journey. Don't ruin the gift that you've been given now. And realize that when you cross over, you'll be with them and they're just in the next room. As I've said many, many times. And when you meet them and you embrace them, it'll be like you've never gone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to me. I know maybe it was a little bit of a tough one today, but if you've got any questions, please reach back to me. Reach out to me anytime if you've got anything that you want to talk about or just want to know. Maybe you're just looking for a little bit of comfort. I'm not going to lead you down the wrong path, and I'm always going to tell you the truth. So please take that with the love that I give it today. Don't make the wrong decisions. Love your life. You'll see your loved ones. And it'll be a moment in time, I said, before you're there. So don't worry about it. And I shall speak to you soon. God bless.